word poetry. I used to be quite good, but I have respect for the art form, so I'm sorry if I'm not as sharp as I was. Have they done this the before times? Well, that was cool. It was like horn. That's not part of the set, but it sounded good. I'm going to start with a bit of crowd participation. This is called Countdown to Tinnitus. So every time I put my hand up, you see the number. We're going to count to 10. Do you all know how to count to 10? Yeah. Roughly right. So when I do that, you go 1. And I do it again. 2. Okay, let's go for it. People talk about
1,
self,
2,
much,
3.
No, they put the hand up. But I appreciate the enthusiasm. No, I'm not. When I post the enthusiasm in the front row. Get all in the hand goes up. Take 2. People talk about
1,
self,
2,
much at any given second. In the
3,
third person. Go
4,
and drink a
5,
gin. I've got a
6,
sense for the
7,
deadly sin. I should have
8,
something before the
9,
bar sub crawl playing. It's with tinnitus and a tunnel feeling awful. Remix! This time we're going from 10 to 1. We'll go back there from 10 to 1. Got that? I broke through the
10,
commandments like a cat with
9,
lives. I lost my head like Olive Henry the
8,
waves. I slept through the
7,
tears. I woke the
6,
Sejun with a sixth sense of humour. Let's better landlords 100 monthly rent based purely on a taxi driver rumour. I ate
4,
bidding fruit with the
3,
wise men went
2,
church in fancy dress.
1.
Never again. Okay. That's from my bands, the Gyro Babies. That's a Gyro Babies a cappella. That was my first band. And the other project we worked over lockdown because we couldn't really get together was Chackle Trade. So that's kind of more hip hop electro project. And hopefully because it's newer, I don't have as many excuses for not knowing it. So that's just a wee story of March to March. This is now the second, nearly 2 years, but this was written a year ago. The last year appeared to be full of fake news, paid views, deepfakes. Every film I seen on my computer screen seemed to be remakes. I gained weight by being chained to a chair in the name of entertainment, played the blame game with the rest of them. As cancel culture gained a facelift at one point, the lockdown bakers so I had to replace eating my body weight in steak bakes and make do with microwave and microchips every time I saw that Bill Gates face. And I think we all learn that everyone's an expert these days, well, apart from doctors, nurses, and all the experts, obviously. There was winners and losers, and yes, beggars can be choosers. I self-isolated myself till they opened up the boozers, with the caveat for me that background music should be booming. Every Zoom call was confusing, just another muted human. This city's always grim, but this one is different. The year flew by quick still, yet they dragged it every minute. The critical thinking definition, the cynic, means now everyone's a skeptic, but their heart's not really in it. It's more question everything, except the sources that I parrot. Friendships end up damaged, cause lines in sand became apparent, and the Brexit in the rear. Phew, the worst of two wrongs that passed a tax dodge for Boris is another cue. Forms from March to March, we marched in packs, we roamed in tribes, took sides and chose our facts. At the point where my whole planet's slowly falling apart, high-five my dad through the glass, it all happened so fast. By the next March they banned marching bands, protesting gatherings. For the first time many middle class people are reacting here. Previously they worked from home with Netflix and Uber Eats. When their holiday got in jeopardy, they marched on city streets. My feed is filled with scammers, anti-vaxxers, crisis actors. They prefer Corbyn's brother but would rather vote Thatcher. All that, all lives matter, part for when they batter. Refugees turned up for furlough dodo after decades of austerity. The magic money tree reappeared and paid their mates for track and trace and PPE and masks that never worked, and corporations fed their face. Brainwashed by the BBC. What? Who do you think you're talking to? I qualified with honours, mate, for YouTube University. Your phone is a TV. If you're sharing negativity, it's you be I or die till we return to festivities. Now, suddenly I'm mainstream, cause I don't think Trump is Jesus. 5G causes obesity, cause we order more beats and sand borders, spring up the trees, gain the leaves, and I can't leave the house either. You get fined for breathing. If protests changed anything, they'd make them illegal. Churchill statue gets more safeguards than vulnerable people. Kill the bill, it's protest post, COVID boys are weary of. We will march against the scary laws that can't jail all ears. Disgust me when you film empty hospital corridors, but I welcome your mistrust because you'll be marching as one ears. Thank you.
Yo!
Thank you for listening to me. It's time for the main event. I'm on a podcast called You Call That Radio, which is how I know Attila The Stockbroker. Check an interview with him Monday. Make some noise for the Xbox one more time for Harris. Give him a bit more. And we have to announce this Attila The Stockbroker.
There's room in here, everybody. Just stand, if you want to stand at the door, you're very welcome. There's plenty of room. There's even a couple of seats kicking over. If you've got any more seats, that'll be good. It is lovely to do another gig in Glasgow. It's been a long time, so thank you at very short notice. To Mark and to You Call That Radio for sorting this out, and to the Icebox, which is exactly my sort of place, for putting this on. So anyway. My name's John Bain, B-A-I-N-E. So I decided, I'd never written about this before. I decided to write about it. My old paternal ancestors were Scottish, hence the name. I don't mean stockbroker, of course. I mean my real one, Bain. A line of Greenock Coopers, enclosers of good ale. But there is little solace for the saltire in this tale. The last one left for South London in roughly 1840. So claims for Scottish ancestry would really be quite naughty. I went to Greenock Morton once to check out the old hood. They were at home to Hibs that day, and they weren't very good. The Highbees were no better, the game finished 0-0, and truth to tell would so remain if they were playing still. Thank you. It is lovely to be back. I've never done as many gigs in Scotland as I should have done or wanted to. Lots in Edinburgh, a few here, some in Aberdeen. I was nominated for the rector of St Andrews University against Nicholas Parsons about 35 years ago by some people from the Meadowbank Thistle Break Club. If there's anyone here who remembers AWOL Fanzine and the Meadowbank Thistle Break Club, Meadowbank, wank, 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 Meadowbank. Seen them many times. Been to East Stirling, been to Methil, and then they turned into Livingston, like MK Dons turned into, Wimbledon turned into MK Dons, although they weren't quite the same because they'd had previously been for Anti-Thistle, so it was... Anyway, lockdown. Do 100 gigs a year, have done since 1981. Obviously didn't do 100 gigs a year for the last couple of years, wrote this for my wife. On the occasion of my 40th anniversary as Attila, which was the 8th of September 1980, and I should have been playing at Dingwalls with a crowd of my mates, friends, supporters, collaborators for 40 years. Instead I was sitting in my office in front of my screen, broadcasting on Facebook Live. Loving lockdown. For 40 years today I've lived this life, travelled the world for concerts far and wide. For half that time, my love, you've been my wife, a glorious inspiration at my side. A quarter of the year or more apart. For me, a time to rant, for you to rest. Then I return to you, my loving heart, resume our path together, two abreast. When lockdown hit, at first I was bereft, though I believed it should have come before. My travelling ways through all the years were done. The gigs I built my life around, no more. I thought, then wrote, then learned to broadcast live, though IT still remains a fickle friend. My office now the gateway to my world, the world I first thought would come to an end. But now we were together all the time. Strong characters faced with a brand new test. My table manners and the toothpaste top. This tireless tongue which never seems to rest. But all our days were filled with love and fun. We never thought, something will have to give. We looked into each other's eyes and said, no one I'd rather be in lockdown with. I loved to watch our garden as it grew, not sometimes this year, every single day. Tomatoes from the seed to bright red fruit, green beans to freezer from the starting tray. When lockdown eased a bit and summer came, my childhood days returned. My rods, my bike. A few hours on our own now, all we need. A night apart now, something not to like. One day, I hope, I hit the road again. Here I am. One day your peace and quiet will return. There it is. But this great revelation in our love, enforced by fate, was wonderful to learn. So darling, thanks for marrying me full time. This stroppy poet, loud of mouth and arse. And as my valediction in this rhyme, I hereby dub you comrade wife, first class. Cheers.
Yo!
If anyone wants to sit down, if you've got any more chairs, you haven't got any more chairs, sorry about that. If that's all right, it's rock and roll. There are a couple down there. If anyone's interested, there are chairs just down the front. So yeah, I mean, I've been doing this for 40 years, and obviously seen an awful lot of different sorts of disasters and ghastly things, and some really good things. Rarely have I done a gig in the midst of something like this. In fact, the only time I remember anything like this really in my lifetime was the NATO engineered destruction of socialist Yugoslavia and the grotesque genocide which happened in 1994-5. So I want to dedicate tonight's gig to the people of Ukraine. There's not a lot you can do as a poet in England, but I'll be doing fundraisers and things, and I will be talking a little bit later about my feelings about it. But we've all had lots and lots of it, and we don't want it all the time. And I've got lots of other things to say about lots of other things, so let me do this one. Yo, I'm the MC of Ranting Rebel Poetry, and I'm a history of my identity. I'm independent, a red college industry, DIY from here to eternity. Let me tell you what's been going on. I take inspiration from centuries long gone. Oral tradition of sedition, that's my position. No court juster with a tame disposition. Poetic licence, 40 years I've had one. They don't come easy, they're not handed out for fun. You have to earn it, work and sweat and move, not get stuck in a dead poet bore groove. I earn mine in dirty, scummy punk clubs, art centres, rock gigs, festivals and dodgy pubs. And yes, once or twice I've had to fight, because when a fascist hits a poet, the poet's doing something right. I love words, and I love them in the red and raw. I like to use them in words that have not been used before. I want you to laugh, I want you to think as well. Bollocks to TV, this is live as hell. Oral tradition, the real origins of poetry. Attila The Stockbroker, ranting rebel MC, Dean of the Social Surrealist University. Welcome to my wild poetic journey. Cheers.
Yo!
And I'm doing a few on the subject of earning my living as a poet for 40 years, because I have. And this is a song that I've just written, and it's you might describe it as it's a song about not being a celebrity and not wanting anyone to get me out of it. It's called 40 Years. I look back on the early years, almost a lifetime now. Hilaire Belloc and my father and a small-sized violin. But the pain of death and parting, those awful preteen days. Till the time I picked the ball up and took them all on my own. Then I came through and I punched the air the day I left that place. And it freed the words of music, though I wasn't quite sure how. Then I saw 4 men on a London stage playing just for me. And I walked out of the rainbow, and I knew just what to do. 77 was year 0, and me, I was 19. I played the bass and wrote the words, but I wanted something more. So I travelled and I played the bass, then I put the bass away. And I wrote some words and blagged a gig and got up there on my own. And I felt the people understand, though this was something new. When Peel played my first record, I said, bloody hell, that's me! And I had my 15 minutes back in 1983. And I said, thanks Joe, as Gordon Smith took Robbo's Crossfield Pass. 40 years, 40 years, 40 years. 40 years, 40 years, 40 years. But Gordon missed and Thatcher ruled and Warhol's words came true. I was writing all my best stuff, but the media said, you're done. I can't say it didn't hurt, but I am confident and strong. And once again I picked the ball up and took them all on my own. I was fighting for the people, I saw them fighting for their lives. At Orgreave and at Wapping, at Greenham and Brick Lane. Not for journalists or telly, but for justice and for truth. And I played for all the people who felt just the same as me. And I toured East Germany 4 times before the wall came down. Saw hope, dreams and intelligence, frustration and despair. Through Europe, then to Canada, across it coast to coast. New Zealand and Australia, that huge mystical land. And I played for all the people who felt just the same as me. And I argued with the others, cause I knew that we were right. That I came home, cause it is home, that the Tories had it sold. And I played for all the people who felt just the same as me. 40 years, 40 years, 40 years, 40 years, 40 years, 40 years. We fought to save the Albion, I still want to change the world. But the day that Hove went Labour, I thought we might have a chance. Now it seems it was all a con, and we have to start again. And I wrote this for the people who feel just the same as me. Cause I still feel all the things I felt when I first saw the Clash. That belief, that inspiration, I'm not mellowing with age. And when someone says, you still going? I saw you in 83. I smile and say, always been there. Just a shame you didn't see. And I still wake up at 3 AM and have to write a poem. And I still rage at injustice and believe that things can change. And I cherish all the people who feel just the same as me. And I thank you, cause it's down to you that I can live this way. Looking forward to the future as I celebrate the past. I remember how I picked it up and ran through on my own. But I'll carry on doing just the same till these big old lungs are still. And I'll do it for the people who feel just the same as me. 40 years, 40 years, 40 years, 40 years, 40 years, 40 years. Thank you.